What have I learned in 7 months of pregnancy? It's Storytime with Chris. Welcome back to Storytime with Chris. Today I've got a little bit of a different episode for you because I'm going to be talking about something very significant to me. I want to start with a little disclaimer that despite I know the title is a little bit misleading. You know, I already know what the title is, a man's role in pregnancy. This is going to be talking about a man's role, me being the man, in pregnancy, which is what my wife and I are experiencing together. So this is not meant to be a guide or anything like that. I'm not going to be giving advice. Well, I'll be talking about some of my experiences and offering some tips and stuff, but this is not in any way supposed to be a guide on what a man's role in pregnancy is. So I'm sorry if the title is a little bit misleading, but it's not. It's supposed to get the clicks, all right? Trying to build an audience. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, like I said, I'll be talking about the experience that I've had during the pregnancy. The first thing that I wanted to get across is that men don't do shit in pregnancy. Is that surprising? That might surprise some of you, but it's true. Even if you have some additional duties that are assigned to you, that you take on because you're trying to help out your wife or your partner, whoever is the pregnant one, you're not doing anything if you're not the pregnant one. Is that something controversial to say? No, I don't think so. And I'm sure a lot of pregnant women would agree with me. Even if you have the most supportive, caring husband or partner that takes on extra responsibilities, extra duties, helps out even more, at the end of the day, the only person doing anything is the mom. And that's something that I never really understood until I was in the middle of it. And the reason why I say men can't get pregnant. So yeah, men don't do anything during pregnancy. The women are literally working 24/7 growing a baby. In some people's cases, it's more than one baby. In ours, it's just one. But I'm just saying, even when Jen, my wife, is sleeping, she's doing more than me. When I'm running around cleaning the house or cooking dinner, or when she's laying in bed, she's doing way more than I am. I mean, even when she's working during the day, she's doing like double the work. And for me, it's really kind of opened my eyes, and I've come to this realization that during pregnancy, moms, expectant mothers, are doing so much extra work. And unfortunately for my wife, she's also had some things that have made the pregnancy harder. She's been really, really sick, and she hasn't been put on bed rest, but she has been put on, she's not allowed to exercise or do anything like that. And so it's been extra hard on her, and everyone has their own pregnancy experiences. And I'm just saying that for my wife's experience, it's been a little bit tougher. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing to kind of sit back and just watch and see, going back to when we first found out in June, and now she has a little baby bump, and I mean, she's 7 months pregnant today, literally. It's crazy to see where we are now. So I'm going to start off. I wrote down some notes. These are not in any particular order. These are just things that I've learned throughout this whole process. There are probably things that I've left out. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to start with just some of the things that I've experienced and learned during this pregnancy. The first thing that I have here is that pregnancy is really, my role has been all about being supportive. And there are multiple different ways that you can be supportive. Being an advocate for her at the doctor's appointments, asking questions that, maybe she's too afraid to ask or forgets to ask. If I'm going to give some advice, luckily I've been able to go to every single one of the doctor's appointments, which we've had more than a quote unquote normal pregnancy, just because we've been through a lot throughout this pregnancy. So, I'm in a position where I'm lucky enough to be able to go to every single appointment. And if you're in a similar position with your partner, I highly suggest doing the same thing. And this goes for a lot of doctor's appointments, honestly. I watch this doctor talk about this doctor on YouTube, and he always recommends having a second person with you at all times whenever you go to doctors, just because with a second person, it's a lot easier easier to remember things, ask questions that you've forgotten about, and just have, a second set of ears, a second person to, and in pregnancy especially, that's been, I think, really helpful. I've remembered to ask things that she hasn't. I've, brought up certain concerns that pop up in my head during appointments that maybe won't pop up into hers. And so, yeah, that's one way you can be supportive. Another way is just, letting her know. I'm going to talk about this, I think, later as well, but just being supportive. It's one of those things where it's hard to explain how to be supportive. You just for me, I just kind of do it. I don't know. It's just a part of it for me. And there might be other people out there who might need to, work at that. And so, yeah, that's, one of those things that I think is kind of a no-brainer. It makes me really appreciate and respect, not every pregnancy occurs because of, during marriage. Sometimes it happens before or, outside of marriage, and it makes me respect those people, those people who stick with their pregnant partners and are supportive throughout that pregnancy, because it is a big deal. Pregnancy, I don't know, for the last 7 months, it's felt like everything. And I had no idea what to expect pregnancy to feel like. And I struggle saying, in some ways, I've been like kind of detached, because I don't, like I've said, I don't feel like I'm really doing anything, even with my extra duties. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm cleaning the house, I'm cooking dinner, I'm taking on all these extra responsibilities and duties. And despite all that, I feel like I'm not doing anything, because my wife is literally growing an entire human being, arms, legs, fingers, feet, toes, heart, brain. It blows my mind. And my wife is incredibly tough. And man, I definitely have, I've always respected my wife, but seeing her throughout this pregnancy has made that respect grow even more, because I know I couldn't do it. I haven't thrown up in several years, and to do it multiple times a day, I can't even imagine what that would be. It's got to be miserable, and I know I couldn't do it. So she's incredibly tough. We're going through that. At the end of the day, I know there's only so much I can control. I know there's only so much she can control. So just being supportive is like the most basic number one thing I feel like you can do in a pregnancy. That brings me to the next thing that I learned. Along with being supportive, another thing that I've gone through is taking on extra responsibilities, whether it's walking the dog, cleaning the house, basically taking over the whole cleaning. Usually my wife and I have split that pretty evenly, but, ever since pregnancy, I've just taken over that responsibility, and I'm not always great at it, but I'm the one taking care of it now. So if it doesn't get done right away, it gets done eventually. Cooking, I've gone from doing like 90% of the cooking to 100% of the cooking. And yeah, it's not a big deal. And another responsibility that I took on was getting a second job for some extra cash. When I've already told the story about my experience with the Ute conference, but, I saw an opportunity there where they were paying a decent salary. Well, a decent amount of, the pay was pretty decent for a Saturday gig where, this would only last a few months. I get some cash for just to have. And I think that's been really helpful, because we've been able to use that we haven't used that cash, but that's been set aside for, emergency expenses, baby expenses, stuff like that. So, it's not always the case in pregnancy where you have to have all these extra responsibilities. A large part of that is because of, just how hard this has been for my wife. The doctor recommends that, when she's not working, that she spends most of her time, resting. She's not allowed to exercise at this point. It's all about, doing some stretching here and there, or, the most exercise is some light walking. And that's hard on itself. The case with her is like she's been, sick. When I'm sick, I lay in bed for a day or two, and that's miserable. Like, that sucks. You get bored. There's other things you want to do, and she hasn't been able to do a lot of those things. And like I've said before, even when she's laying down and resting, she's doing more than she's doing more than me when I'm doing 100 things. Which, on that topic, another thing that I've learned is key is just to be empathetic. She's been very sensitive to different. She's had some food aversions, and more specifically, she's had smell aversions. She's a vegetarian and I'm not. So some of the foods that has been making her the most sick have been like chicken and steak and meat, essentially has been making her really sick. So my solution to that, which I'm not complaining about at all, is I've had to make most of my food outside. Luckily, I have a really nice smoker, so I'm able to, it's a Pit Boss smoker, and I'm able to essentially use it as a grill as well. So it's not just a, low and slow smoking session every day. I'm able to grill chicken on there, burgers, bacon, do all that stuff. So that's one of those things is, if I'm in the mood for some chicken, I'm not going to put her through having to smell that and possibly making her even more sick. It is so easy to just go outside and do it on the smoker. That's one thing. Another thing is, just letting her get her rest, letting her relax and do what her body's telling her to do. Because like I've stated, she's doing more constantly than I am ever. So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting experience because I feel like I'm someone who is, usually pretty busy. I'm not a huge, I'm not someone that really sits around a lot. I have enjoyed getting out and hiking and going to the gym, going on, just doing stuff. So being able to kind of slow down, take care of things at home, take care of my wife, it's definitely been a little bit of a change in my lifestyle, but honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything. And I know eventually I'll be able to kind of get back to those things, and I have no room to complain because my wife has been not been able to do a lot of those things, and especially things that she enjoys like hiking. And so along those lines of being empathetic, it's all about also reassuring her, letting her know she's doing a great job. She's going to be a good mom, even if, some days it's hard. Pregnancy does crazy things to your hormones. There are definitely harder days than others. And it's all about letting her know that things are going to be okay. Things are going to work out. And even when you feel like you're not doing anything, you're doing more than you're doing a lot. And luckily, we have a lot of good. For most people, you get, an ultrasound or two, and we've had a lot of ultrasounds. So it's been really awesome to be able to kind of see the growth of the baby, from the very beginning. And I think now that she's at that point where the baby is kicking and she can feel the baby pretty much, all the time, I think that definitely helps to reassure her as well. So this next thing that I'm going to talk about, I actually haven't really brought up to my wife, but I came to a realization a few weeks ago, and this is not necessarily, I'll just say this. We were out shopping, we've done a few shopping sessions for baby, just getting, different toys, necessities, a few items of clothing. And in doing a lot of the shopping, I kind of found myself, on different websites, just looking at baby clothes, looking at baby accessories, things specifically for the baby. And it kind of hit me that, what, Jen is growing this baby. Jen is, building a bond with this baby. And for Jen is the mom. And, it's 2023. What kind of roles do people play in, gender roles, blah, blah, blah. Say which one about that. But I really do think there is something special about the motherly role. And it's not something that guys can do. Like I could never grow. It's physically impossible. Outro. It's physically impossible for me to grow a child. So I'll never, have that kind of bond. And just because you can grow a baby doesn't necessarily mean that bond is automatically going to be there, And I've learned all about this, just during the pregnancy. You learn a lot of stuff as a guy about women and pregnancy and babies, literally just by, being in it. And of course, I've done some research and stuff. But regardless, there's, at least some kind of bond there with the baby for most women. And, some women do struggle postpartum, and there can be, postpartum depression, and sometimes there's not really a connection. Anyway, besides the point, my wife, she's the one that is growing this child, and she's, at the end of the day, if baby only needed one of us, baby would only need her. Also, I don't think I've mentioned this, but the reason why I'm sticking to gender neutral terms with the baby is not for some 2023 woke reason. Because we're 27 weeks. We're saying we're not going to find out the gender, but who knows? I don't know if we can stick it out for the whole term. I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's the whole reason, is because we don't don't know the gender. So yeah, in case anyone caught on to that, that's the reason. So moving on. Yeah, my wife, she's the mom, and at the end of the day, baby only needs her. And so, for me, I came to this realization that, like it or not, this realization that baby is going to be dependent on mom. And that's how it works most of the time in nature, and through the course of history, that has been the case most of the time. So of course, me being involved and my wife and I being in a happy marriage and relationship, we're going to take care of our family as a whole. But during this pregnancy, I came to this thought where, Jen can buy all the clothes, she can buy all the kind of extra stuff for baby, some of the fun, quote unquote fun stuff, and she can take care of baby in that way. And for me, when I was looking at all these baby things, I was like, you know what? I need to kind of stop looking at baby things, even though, yes, I do want to. I need to stop looking at those things and start trying to find things specifically to take care of mom. Because if I take care of mom takes care of baby. Of course, she's capable, Jen is capable of taking care of herself. But if I can add that extra support and take care of her, and then I'm going to, as much as I can. And so instead of shopping for things for baby, I've tried to, see what kind of things my wife has been needing, some different kinds of clothes, some, like maternity stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a thought that I had as far as like buying things. Of course, at the end of the day, I'm going to take care of both mom and baby. But right now, I can't really take care of baby, if that makes sense. Like baby's with mom 24/7. I'm never with baby except when I'm with my wife. So anyway, that was just kind of a thought I had and part of my experience. So here we go. Now it's on a podcast. Cool. Another thing that I was put in charge of, and I was, on board with this anyway. I knew this was coming, but building the nursery, honestly, building the nursery was not that bad. My wife could have easily made me do a lot more, but the only thing I did in the nursery was really install some paneling, some decorative paneling. And that wasn't that hard, even though I kind of messed it up. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but a couple of the little wood slats that I put in were slightly off. You can barely tell. We've had friends have we had family look at it? We've had some friends come over and look at it, and they couldn't tell. So I guess it's not that bad, but of course I notice it every time. And along with that, I went out and got a dresser for the baby. I put together the crib, a rocking chair, just basic stuff. If you're in charge of building the nursery, I definitely recommend, doing your research. If you're going to make a pretty permanent change, make sure you measure correctly and get help if you need it. The last thing you want to do is, ruin the nursery and do something that's going to cost you extra money to repair or change or fix. So yeah, I had to learn how to rewire. We put a new, what are those things called? A light fixture. We switched out the light fixture in the room. So I had to learn how to rewire that and stuff. So yeah, anyway, along with all the extra things that I've been doing around the house, helping out my wife, taking the dog on walks, making sure the dog is still taken care of and active and healthy and all that. I've also been, and I think this is really important for me, especially where I do value, the doing stuff together with my wife and dog and family in general, but I also value, doing my own thing as well. I value my individuality, I guess you could say. So one thing that I've been trying to do is make sure that I'm doing the things that I enjoy still, working on this podcast, working on trying new recipes and cooking and stuff like that. I've also been trying to, stay active and healthy. That has, since Thanksgiving, that's kind of gone out the window a little bit, which happens to me almost every year. But because my wife has also been dealing with some really bad pregnancy insomnia, she doesn't get, she unfortunately doesn't get to sleep until 5 or 6 in the morning, which is the time that I historically have gotten up to go to the gym, do workouts. But, out of, trying to be empathetic and respect my wife, I've just kind of let that go. I haven't placed such an importance on waking up at that time, because I know if I get up, it's going to wake her up when she just fell asleep. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for me for sure. Up until recently, one thing that I was able to do rather than go to the gym was do some workouts at home. I found a couple of YouTube channels that I like watching where you just have a set of dumbbells and you can do a full body workout, you can do leg workout, they have all sorts of different programs where, you might not get all the results, but you're still being active, you're still using weights and improving your health. Now, I need to get back into that a little bit, but yeah, whenever I haven't been able to do that, I've tried taking my dog on walks because that way it's kind of knocking out two birds with one stone. I get to do some walking exercise and my dog gets to as well. So that's one thing that I recommend, take care, as a non-pregnant person in this relationship. Yes, take care of your partner, make sure they're good, make sure they're, taken care of, but also take care of yourself. Try to do the things that you enjoy as well, as much as possible. Now you're probably going to have to make some sacrifices, but that's something that you should be prepared for before you decide to either try to get pregnant or have sex with someone. So just consider that next time before you do the deed. That's something to think about. Of course, I knew we were trying and I expected to have to make some sacrifices, and that's something that I accepted a long time ago. And yeah, I wouldn't change. In a few months, we'll get to meet our little one and it'll all be worth it. All those little sacrifices that you do will all be worth it. So finally, wrapping up this episode, I have no idea how long this one's going to be. Could be, I honestly have no idea. So the last few things that I'm going to talk about that I've kind of mentioned here and there in my experience is taking time to bond with a baby. Now, it's a little bit tougher to do if you're not the pregnant one, because the pregnant one, in this case, my wife, she's with the baby 24/7. She's with the baby 24/7. There's going to be some sort of bond there. Of course, it is different for everyone. So I'm not saying, there may be some moms out there who have a tougher time bonding with their baby. And if you happen to be one of those moms, just know that, of course, this is coming from a man. So take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be some bond. It may not be something that you necessarily feel, but, there might be a physical bond. There might be something within the baby that they feel. And it might be something as simple as being a little bit more protective of yourself, being a little bit more, I'm not going to say standoffish because that's not the term I'm looking for, but being, just a little bit more open to protecting yourself and your interests. Yada. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt. I am a man. I'll never get to experience those things. I'm not jealous of the pregnancy experience because it does not sound like fun. I know I couldn't do it personally. But if there is one thing that I'm jealous of, it's being able to know, I have this child inside of me at all times and I'm their protector. Yes, I'm going to be protective of my wife and child, but it's different when they're physically inside of you. You know what I mean? Anyway, besides that, I'll never get to experience those things. I'll never get to feel I put my hand on my wife's belly and feel the baby kick, feel the baby move, but I'll never get to experience feeling what that feels like inside of me. It's one of those things where there's some raw animalistic, primal, that's a better word. Primal, things that have been felt by people for years and years. And that's one of those primal things is I don't think what a baby feels like today is going to feel like what a baby felt. There's not going to be that much of a difference, right? Who knows? What do I know? I'm just rambling at this point. So let me get back to the point. Bonding with the baby, as the outside, the one that's not pregnant, the way that you can try to bond with the baby is, and of course, I'm sure this is a little bit more doable once the baby is outside of the body and you can hold them and feed them, play with them, whatever. Some things that I've done, and I guess you could take this as advice. I don't really know for sure if it's advice, but my wife and I have been, mostly I have been reading to the baby. And we've bought a few books for them, and so I'll just put my face right up to my wife's belly and read some of these books. My wife and I have talked to the baby, just telling them how excited we are to meet them, and asking them why they're. I told our baby, I was like, hey, you're gonna be grounded for keeping mom up all these nights. Joking, of course, but just doing little things like that, making jokes with the baby, singing to baby, listening to your favorite music with baby. baby. It's it's kind of the closest I'll get to being able to bond with the baby before they're here. So I've been trying to do that. And then of course, kind of the most obvious way is just feeling, once baby's at the point where you can feel them kicking and stuff like that. I thought it was going to freak me out. And sometimes it kind of does, especially when it's like a really hard kick. I thought that would freak me out a little bit more, but it really is cool to feel them and to know that in a few months you're going to be able to meet them. So those are a few ways that you can bond with baby. There like I said, to start, there's probably a lot of things that I've left out, and there might be people who listen to this and say, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? This is the first pregnancy, and I've learned a lot already, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot if for future pregnancies if we decide to go that route and things work out for us in that favor. So yeah, I don't even know what to say at this point. If there's anything I did leave out and you're a mom or a dad, tell us your experience. Let me know what things have been helpful for you throughout your pregnancy journey. I mean, we're getting really close to meeting our baby and being at the end of the pregnancy journey. So I mean, at this point, there's not a lot I can add to the arsenal of stuff that I'm doing, but it could be useful for other people. And I know there are other people out there who, one thing I'll say is I have some ideas for some future episodes talking about the pregnancy, but we'll see if those things end up working out. I hope they do. And if you are in a situation where you don't know what you're doing, there are a lot of resources out there that can definitely help you out, and especially doctors. There are one thing that we've been lucky enough to have experienced is we go to traditional OBGYNs for our appointments and stuff like that. But my wife has also had sisters who have gone through kind of untraditional methods of pregnancy, and she's been able to get different perspectives and ideas as far as pregnancy goes. And the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because we didn't announce the pregnancy to my family for a while. I think we were 12, 14 weeks by the time we told our families. So at the beginning of the pregnancy, I didn't really we weren't ready to announce, so I didn't go ask my dad for advice. And I just looked up, videos and podcasts about what can a husband do during the first few months of pregnancy, during the first trimester. And then from there, I felt like it mostly came naturally, that there wasn't a lot of advice that I really needed to take. But if you do, there are resources out there, and, there are things that can help you. There are books. I mean, I can't name any, but there are some out there. And yeah, anyway, at this point I'm rambling, like I said, and this has been my sort of experience throughout the last 7 months of pregnancy, things that I've learned, some advice. All in all, if there's anything I'm going to say, if you are looking for advice, or if I have some closing remarks about my ultimate lesson learned and the most important things about pregnancy, is to also, before I get there, something I'm going to add is to enjoy and embrace the journey. Sort of let things come, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to ask questions or seek out help. I don't remember where I was going with that. I've been talking for way too long. Anyway, just remember, as a man, at the end of the day, you're not really doing anything. Be supportive of your partner. And I am coming from a heterosexual, monogamous, traditional marriage point of view. I know there are others out there, so I'm not trying to be exclusive. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. Take it with a grain of salt, but be supportive to your partner, your wife, the pregnant one. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Take on extra responsibilities if you have to. Take on extra responsibilities. Be empathetic. Take care of your partner. They're going to take care of the baby. Go the extra mile. Try to do some extra nice things. One thing that I struggle with a little bit is my wife is a sweetheart, and sometimes I joke around with her, and maybe I joke around a little bit too much, and it ends up annoying her. Just don't be overly annoying, because you are going to be annoying. Trust me, you will be annoying. Just don't be overly annoying. Okay. Oh, I guess another thing I can add is be protective of your wife, partner / baby carrier. Be protective of them. Obviously stress and there are bad things that can happen that can prevent harm to the baby and to the pregnant one. Sorry, that term cracks me up, the pregnant one. I keep saying it. So at this point it's too late, but be protective, even if it's from, like, we have a 90-pound dog, and if he gets a little too rough, he gets near jumping on the belly or causing any harm, I get after him. So be protective, even if it's from your dog. And yeah, be reassuring, do some research, figure out what ways you can help, get them some things that maybe they might not buy themselves. I bought my wife like a sweatshirt that says mama on it. Be sensitive. Don't be afraid to still work on your individuality, work on your own stuff, take care of yourself as well. Luckily, I feel like my wife and I have all our shit together, so we don't have a lot of crap going on. So we're very fortunate in that case, and I've been able to take care of myself and her, and she's been able to take care of herself and baby. And so just work on that, work on yourself, work on being the best version of yourself, and go try to find resources if this whole pregnancy thing is intimidating and scary. To me, it's been interesting because I haven't felt really scared during this pregnancy. I don't know. I feel like you're never truly ready. No one's ever truly ready for pregnancy, but in a weird way, I feel like I am. Of course, I'm going to be wrong. There's some stuff that's going to hit me like a bag of bricks when it happens. So I don't know. Luckily, I think my wife and I are both pretty resilient, so no matter how hard it is to get some sleep, no matter how many dirty diapers you have to clean up, no matter how many little, being a parent, I'm sure there are going to be some scary moments. No matter what, I know we're going to be okay and we're going to get through it. And and we have a lot of good resources and parents around us, friends, family who are going to be helpful in their own ways. So yeah, we're very fortunate in that case, and I need to stop talking at some point so I could go make dinner. Oh man. Anyway, thanks for listening to this episode. If you have any, tell us what your experience is as a dad, as a man during the pregnancy. Tell us your experience if you're a mom. Tell us your experience put something down in the comments or wherever just let me know if there's any advice that you have or anything that you think I left out. And thanks for listening. If you did come for some advice, I hope I could at least offer some. I hope I could have been at least a little bit helpful. And if you are on this journey as well, then I wish you all the best. You've got this. You're going to figure it out. You're going to do great. And that has been my experience so far in 7 months of pregnancy. Thanks for listening. This has been Storytime with Chris.